This week I'll be taking a look at the Portable Nietzsche section, specifically Thus Spoke Zarathustra. You've given it a 24-hour read-through, and then meet me on the other side for thoughts on concepts and ideas that it inspired. Well, my recommendation for this book is don't waste your time on reading it. If you're trying to do a completist approach to understanding philosophy and the time period that ends around 1900, sure, have a look through it. But I'm going to tell you right now, my reading experience with Nietzsche is he is not a good writer. He's not as profound as he seems to think he is. It's clear to me that the people who introduced his work in this volume are fanboys, like in any genre, where you get somebody who will tell you how passionately they think this person is brilliant, and you're convinced that the story has to be something better than the introduction, and unfortunately it wasn't. I will not go hashing in through details, and I will not argue points with people. If you like it, you like it. I did not like it. And I will be very happy if I never see the word verily for a long time after. That being said, my goal for this is to take a look at it, see what's inside, and then explore it as a means of inspiration. So, with that in mind, he who becomes a spirit, somebody who can become as a spirit without having to die, drinker of souls into oneself, or a well of souls one drinks from. And this is just another, as in most of the things in this Portable Nietzsche, it's really just a turn of phrase. The Cemetery of Hollow Trees has a mechanism for looking further at the dealing with death, a sage of dreams, a fictionalized version of Aboriginal dream time, or you can take it down to contemporary fantasy, sort of like Harry Potter universe, only you've got people who, instead of dealing with wizarding, deal with dreams as if they were real entities walking around the world, handling them in some capacity like that. as if, like in some of the myths, you have nightmares being a horse of hellish variety of some kind. So having a sage that deals with those ideas and concepts, a thief of time. And I like the idea of somebody who can steal time from an object or person. Inventor of souls. This one, for me, has story potential and even an idea of painting of somebody at a workstation cobbling together a soul. But there's also the idea of either doing a future science fiction story where somebody is trying to create a soul for robots or artificial intelligence, or you can do a deep fantasy where somebody's working in a workshop and processing alchemical mixtures to try to create a homunculus. So there are different ends of spectrums just to take this idea and take it further. And that's next line that I thought was an interesting choice of words was writers in blood. Whether this is a tribe of killers that write some dark mythos on the walls and the bloods of their victims, or if you take it to some other realm where it's a great scripture was written in the past with profound understanding of the universe and its nature, and it's written in the blood of slain dragons. I mean, there's a lot of material that can be generated from just these turns of phrasing. Next idea is creative person or a champion that encounters a god, and say it's a cruel or fickle god like some mythology has, and this person encounters this god, and through the power of imagination, will, or faith, or strength of character, manages to change their perception so that the physicality of the god is changed to their new perception. Completely shape-shift the god, revealing the idea that gods are a product of our faith or belief in them, and we change what they mean, what they look like, how they interact with the world by our perception of them, and if we can change our perception, we can change them. A teacher telling students to create a god. I mean, you do a class and a teacher tells you to work on a final project, and you do your project and you show it. I think the idea of students having to create a god for such a project would be immensely amusing as a story, and it can be handled seriously and darkly, or it could be handled very comically and light, or somewhere in the mix of it, just kind of a interesting exploration of that idea. Where old gods lie buried is a phrase he uses in the book, and I like the idea of the graveyard for the gods, and the idea of mortal gods as something we don't tend to think of. We think them as like a contradiction in terms, but imagining the ruins of heaven and the burial grounds of gods, what it says to a human being who tends to look up to gods as immortal and all-powerful, to come across even the gods have died, and what does that mean for the hero or the character in the story? A quest of a group seeking godhood. In this case, the idea occurred to me of a group or a party in a fantasy setting seeking to achieve their own godhood, and the story of some members get lost along the way and they don't make it to godhood, but the survivors of this struggle to get there and they achieve the role of being the pantheon of that setting. Idea of clockwork scholars. Just the image of that alone is, I think it would make an incredible painting. And I mean, I imagine you could probably use a short story for that. And a set of rusty keys that open gates. Doesn't sound like much, but I like the idea. The way it was framed just set the idea up in my mind of a set of rusty skeleton keys that open all rusty things. Whether that's a rusty treasure chest, a gate, an old castle, or specifically a magical set of keys that anything that's old, worn, and rusty, they can open, so long as they have a latch of some kind that the key can open. And that the key would fit all of them magically. I like that idea. Next in line, a fantasy with a character determined to crush a certain star. as if he talks about somebody seeking to crush stars or something to that effect. And I got this image of sort of borderline fantasy, borderline steampunk, of a person trying to reach the sky high enough to grasp a star and crush it because it has affronted him in some capacity, or not borne out some promise that they're supposed to hold for him. And so he's just sort of an anti-hero determined to destroy the thing that betrayed his trust. Come, let us kill the spirit of gravity. And in this sense, he's saying it as the spirit of over-seriousness, essentially. But I like the idea of a spirit embodying the meaning of the force of gravity, and somebody going out to kill that spirit. And I like the idea of, now we can take flight if we just kill the spirit of gravity. Something like that. I love that idea. That's about what I was able to milk from this. But that being said, I got what I got out of the story as little gems of ideas and thoughts. And next week, it's the 1981 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And hope that inspires you to create something of your own.